Welcome. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I know it's a busy schedule that you have going for all the games on the weekend. I appreciate everyone coming to the tournament. My name is Rob Bartz. I am the DOC of FC Portland, as well as assistant coach at the University of Portland. So I'll be also joining these guys in the panel. I'm going to introduce these guys in a moment, but I just want to kind of walk you through what the evening's going to look like. Okay? The one thing that we do not want to happen is us talking all night and you guys just sitting here. This is for you. This is to answer questions for you. Okay? I know parents are going to have a lot of questions, which is fantastic. We are here to answer them. If as much as possible we can get the questions from the student athlete here, that would be fantastic. We would love to hear. This is about you guys. I understand that parents are trying to help and guide our kids through this process, and it's a process that can be very confusing to a lot of us. But what we really would love to see as coaches is the kids kind of taking on that responsibility, and it kind of starts with these types of things right here. Some of the things we're going to go over tonight, and it's not going to be limited to, but I kind of want to throw these things out to kind of get your mindset rolling and thinking of the questions you want. You probably already have some questions. Some of the things I may mention may add to those questions. Some key points that we'll go over is time frame. When should you be writing coaches? When should, what year are you? Freshman, sophomore, male, female, what type of school you're looking at. What are the coaches looking for when you're at this tournament? All right. Videos, game clips. I'm sure there's so many questions on, should we pay to have something done? What should we look at? Our coaches are great with answering a lot of those questions as well. What type of scholarships are out there? Athletic aid, academic aid, need-based aid. There's several different avenues to find money to fund school. We'll talk a little bit about the FAFSA. It's a federal aid that you can go on and it gives you a forecaster for schools that you are looking at. Also, there's different levels. You have your NC2A Division I, you have Division II, Division III, you have junior college, NAI. There's several different places and levels to play. Doesn't necessarily mean that all Division I schools are the same. Doesn't mean that all Division II schools are the same. Junior college schools are the same. There are very, very good junior college schools. I'll tell you right now, there's one of them right there with Hugh Bell at Yavapai. Phenomenal program. I'm sure they could play against anybody. So just make sure that you're fully aware of what you're looking at, and we can help answer some of those questions as we go through. And then kind of the other thing we're going to talk a little bit about is that connecting with that coach process. What should you be putting in your letter? One of the things that I was just talking to Chuck about right before we came out, and I'll promise you this happens all the time. I will get a letter and it will say, my name is Rob Bartz, and it'll say, "Dear Coach Cam Rath," he's the coach at Santa Clara, "I really want to go to the University of Portland." No, you don't. You don't even know who's coaching. Or part two, sometimes we tend to send a bunch of letters to a bunch of schools and it doesn't correlate correctly. Be specific and write one letter. Just a heads up. Because it's the quickest way to go right in the Canvas side. What do you know about the school? Does it have the program you want? Research the school. So if you've done some research on the school and made us think that that you put effort into us, we're going to now turn around and put effort into you. Okay, so make sure we look at that. So those are some key points. I know that these guys are going to have some other points that they can bring up as well as we go. Please do not hesitate to raise your hand and ask questions. If we're having troubles hearing, what I've done in the past is just repeat the question so that everyone can hear it. If anybody has questions on the top side, we have some microphones on the side here that some of our excellent volunteers here will come bring a microphone over to you. No further ado, I'm going to introduce our coaches panel. First we have Hugh Bell from Yavapai. We have Chuck Bechtel from Linfield. And we have Michelle Boylan from Oregon State. And we have Oregon State women's program, men's program, and men's program. So we will take a couple minutes here. I'll have Hugh just talk a little bit about himself and his school.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Hugh.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Remember, this is not a one-way street, guys. This is a two-way street. We expect to get some feedback, okay? Anyway, real quickly, I've been at Yavapai College in Prescott, Arizona for 25 years. We are part of the National Junior College Athletic Association, NJCAA. And the only states that are not, do not fall under our NJCAA are states such as California, which have their own organization, and Oregon and Washington, which have their own organization. But everybody else in the country, divided into 12 regions, and we compete for a national championship every year. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I've been there for 25 years. I've been involved with club coaching, high school coaching, and pretty much did the whole thing. And it's been a ride, it's been an experience, and it changes every single day. I wouldn't want to do anything else, because there isn't a day that's the same. As far as junior colleges go, they have their place. They're useful to many people for different reasons. Obviously, the first reason that I always think about is the money, because some folks can't afford to go to university, or maybe they don't have the resources, or they're not getting the resources to go to university, so they choose a junior college. Unfortunately, there's a stigma attached to junior college, because some of them are not very good. And they tend to maybe have a bad name. But our junior college is excellent. We try our best to provide the students with everything they need, and academically very, very important for them to get an associate's degree and move on to a university. That's our sole responsibility at Yavapai College, to make sure we bring in a student athlete who goes to class and participates on the field, gets playing time, and is ready to move on in 2 years. That's the goal. So that's just briefly what I'm about and what our school is about. In a very beautiful place, Prescott, Arizona, which is located 1 mile high and approximately 90 miles from Phoenix. So we do a lot of traveling, and it's a great place to be and a great place to coach.
Thank you. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Bechtel from Linfield College. I've been there for 3 years. Linfield is a small, private Division III school, approximately 1,600 students. The guys are like this, the ratio is 60 to 40, so good percentages. It's a liberal arts school that has a very good academic reputation, which is the whole goal for the D3 athlete, is to come in and set yourself up for the rest of your life, with an opportunity to play 4 more years of soccer and compete at a high level. We play in the Northwest Conference, which has 2 schools out of Spokane, Whitworth and Whitman, 2 out of Seattle, PLU, UPS, and then 4 in this area, which is George Fox, Pacific, Willamette, and us. So.
Perfect. Michelle?
All right. Hi, I'm Michelle Boylan. I'm assistant coach at Oregon State, and I've been there since 2008. We're a little different. It's a big Division I school. We're in the Pac-12, which for women's soccer is the most competitive league on the West Coast, we're up there with the ACC, and teams like UCLA and Stanford and Cal are teams we have to compete with every year. You know, you go to Oregon State, it's a big school. We have, for a Pac-12 school, it's kind of small in that sense, but we have 25,000 students. Corvallis is a college town. Everything's kind of based around the college, and when you're looking at athletically, I mean, it's the top of the line. I mean, we have facilities, we have support, and it's very, very demanding to be a Division I athlete. So, you know, you have a great panel here tonight because we can, you know, kind of talk about every program out there is going to be competitive, but also there are lots of different levels. And, you know, I think about our players that, you know, and our coming back from training, they are, you know, running. Not only are you a student, but you're not just an athlete, you're a student, and you have to manage your studies, your athletics, and your social life at a very, very competitive and demanding level. So it's not for everybody, but when you do get there, if you have the right determination, you find the right fit, it's definitely demanding, and it's something that you'll never forget. But also, you know, you have to work really hard. And the biggest thing I would say to give yourself opportunities out there is making sure that you're taking care of your academics, because regardless of where you're going, whether it's a JC, an NAIA school, Division III, II, or I, you've got to have the grades, because you might be a great player that we say, oh wow, you're fantastic, we'd love to have you come to our school, we have a lot of money for you, and all of a sudden we can't even get you in school because you have a low grade point average. So it's really important to focus in on that and give yourself the opportunities, because there are plenty of opportunities out there. So
Perfect.
you can keep going here.
Yeah, you're good. And I'll finish up with, again, I'm from University of Portland. We're a approximately 3,000 undergrad school, it's a private school, just outside of downtown Portland. We have a phenomenal athletic facility. You come on our campus and you recognize real fast that we are a soccer school. We have more field area for soccer than anything else. And it's, our support for soccer is phenomenal. As a matter of fact, Michelle, I kind of remind her that where she's come from, even though she's at Oregon State, it's a phenomenal school and a phenomenal program. And she played for us at the University of Portland and played on a phenomenal team for several years. As a matter of fact, we're watching the video and how many players she's played with on that video that you guys watch. Impressive career. Kind of adding to what Michelle said in academics and kind of starting this thing off, is to talk a little bit about why that's so important. All of us call the person that comes into our school student athlete. What came first? It's a huge factor for us. Chuck made a comment that said, we are trying to set you up for life. The life skills that you will learn being a college athlete is, in my personal opinion, second to none. It is preparing you to be competitive in everything you do in your life, to be able to work in a team environment, all the aspects that you can think of in life.
Time management.
Time management, I mean, we could go on, and as a matter of fact, we will talk about all of these things. But the reality of the amount of doors you open with quality grades is just so hard to describe. When we're looking at the exact two players, and they're very similar athletically, what's their academic grades? Can they get academic scholarship to add to their athletic scholarship, which is going to make it work? Different programs as far as, well, the difference between men's side and women's side in the NCAA is the women have 14 scholarships, men have 9.9. So we have to spread 9.9 in amongst the entire team. And how many players do you guys carry, Michelle?
Between 25 and 30.
So 25 and 30 players are still dealing with only 14 scholarships. So we have to make sure that we're figuring out how to make sure we spread that money around. So academics is a huge factor in that. Before we go any further, let's get a kind of an idea of where we're at out here in the crowd. How many seniors do we have out here? Can you raise your hand? A few. How many juniors?
Don't raise your hand for seniors, Steve.
Love it. That's awesome. Sophomores? Excellent. Good. Freshmen? Nice. It's not too soon, freshmen. I promise you, it's not too soon.
It goes quick.
It does. It goes real fast. Before you know it, you're sitting there going, oh, should I be writing schools? What we're going to kind of do now is kind of start going through our topics and talk a little bit about timelines. I want these guys to jump in as well, because I think all of our timelines are a little bit different on when we're looking at players and who we're looking at. In all honesty, our school can actually change within a recruiting year, because we may get some early commits and it changes what we're looking at over the next couple of years. So I don't know, Hugh, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. I usually come to the tournament every year, the showcase here, and I'm basically looking for seniors. I'm looking for young men that can come in and play next fall. Sometimes I make a note of juniors, but the problem with that is that things change so dramatically in this business, even for a young man that is a junior. So with that in mind, I'm trying to find usually a half a dozen, maybe 10 total young men who could come in and play next fall. With a junior college, our turnaround we only have 2 years with the young people, and so it's kind of a revolving door, so we're always recruiting. And we put a lot of emphasis on trying to get it right. It's very important to be able to select and choose young people that want to do well. We try to stay away from young men who feel that the junior college is just a walk in the park. And unfortunately, that's what happens frequently with some schools, but not us. My motivation when I come to the showcase is to try to identify young people who are looking for a place to go next fall and play. And that would be a timeline that's rather short compared to maybe Chuck or Michelle or even Rob. But that's my timeline. It usually is something that has to occur within a period of 12 months.
Chuck?
So for me, what I do is I look at the juniors and I'll track them and I'll watch them for a year, and then typically by their senior year, once it starts sorting out, everybody here wants to play D1. It's not a good fit for everybody. It's just the nature of the beast. And so once reality starts to set in, then we start getting more serious about who we look at and who we want to watch.
Chuck?
Oh boy. So women's soccer, it's a little different than men's soccer, just in that there's been a shift in the age that kids are getting recruited. So, when I started this job back in 2008, we were looking at juniors. And, 4 years later, I'm at a tournament looking at sophomores. And it's been kind of interesting. There's been this shift, and I know you guys might be familiar with it, and I'm sure players out there, you hear this, so-and-so committed, she's, it's January of her sophomore year, and she's got a scholarship, and she's committed, and now players are getting nervous. How come I'm not getting offers? What's going on? Well, there is a kind of a philosophy of, okay, let's identify and get those players early. That's okay. But I've also seen in women's soccer, and we've seen over the last couple of years, a lot of players that have made that commitment when they're very young, and then 2 years later, because think about it, as a sophomore, you're going to change a lot between now and your senior year. And so, I've seen it more often, especially the last 3 or 4 years, players that have committed as a sophomore, and they get to their senior year, and the reality is hitting, oh, I'm going there. That's really far away from home. I don't know if that's where I really want to be. And And it's very stressful, and you'll see a lot of players have decommitted from programs. So I'm not saying it's wrong to commit early. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to make it very clear that there's a lot of time out there. You know, we're a Pac-12 school, and we're looking at sophomores, juniors, and I'm here looking at even at seniors. And so, you know, there's definitely opportunity. So when you're out there and you're writing schools and you're starting to get offers, really sit down as a family, okay? Look at all the factors and be honest and don't feel like you have to make a decision because of pressure or because of money. Because believe me, when you're a sophomore, that junior year, your players change a lot between that sophomore and junior year. So, you know, make sure that the decision you're making is for the right reasons and that you feel very, very, very comfortable about that decision. You know, and again, there are players that come up. We've had this experience, and I've heard it and I've seen it where player develops as a junior or senior, and everyone goes, "Who's that?" and suddenly, you know, there's a lot of people contacting that player, and it's just important if you are out here doing events like this Showcase tournament, going to college ID camps, contacting coaches. It's really important to get out there and play and get yourself in front of coaches. But it's also important when you're in at these tournaments and you're looking around. Make sure you go see campuses. Okay, if you fly somewhere to a Showcase tournament, or you're from Washington and you're here, there are a lot of schools in this area. If you have time, go to a campus, regardless if the coaches are available or not. It's important to see as many schools as you can, because the one thing is you might not know exactly where you want to go or what you really like, but you're certainly going to figure out the things that you don't like. And that's important. And when you go on a campus, you'll get a feeling, and you can say, wow, that's a really cool place. I want to learn a little bit more about it. Or you go, wow, there's no way. You might think that's a great soccer school, and you go there and you go, there's no way I would want to be a student on this campus. So for the younger freshmen and sophomores, you're contacting schools. That's great. Make sure you're doing that and you're seeing things, and take your time and really think about what you're doing. Juniors and seniors, continue getting out there, getting in front of coaches, going to ID camps, because things can change very, very quickly. And that's keeping your options open, and definitely understanding that just because you're not, that the division, like, we're not just looking at sophomores. Sometimes people go, oh, you're looking at the 2018s. No, we're still looking all the time for every year.
Just to add to what Michelle and the other coaches were talking about, I think the key to know is there are specific timelines that kind of you should start doing certain things, but it's never too late. It's never too late to get your information out there. Ever heard the phrase squeaky wheel gets the grease? When we hear a person's name a lot, that name sticks in my head. And if you don't hear back from us, because obviously we can't call you back until it's changing now. It's starting to get a little bit easier for us to get a hold of people their junior year now. But at the end of the day, keep reaching out. Even if you don't hear back, keep reaching out. A lot of coaches will still see it, and you kind of, Brandon and I in our office will sit there and go, oh, that person wrote us again. That person wrote us again. And you know what? Bam, I'm going to watch them play. Because they've been persistent on making sure that we're going to come watch them play. The process is always changing on what we're looking for. We're always, Brandon and I went and watched the freshman games today, just to kind of get an idea of what was out there and what we're looking at. And kind of getting a visual of what we were looking for. Do we expect those guys to commit to us? Absolutely not. We expect them to start that research process on what you're looking for. Do you want to live close to home? Do you want to be away from home? Do you know that? Do you want a big school? Do you want a small school? Do you want football to be part of that school? Do you want, I mean, there's so many great aspects to college that some schools may not have that to offer. The University of Portland doesn't have football. So it may be a factor that you like that environment. So these are all the things. One of the key things that we ask our student athletes when they come in is, would you go to this school if soccer was not part of it? And if the answer is yes, you're going to be a happy person in our school. Because there's times when you're hurt, there's times when things aren't going great on the field, you need the school part to be a good part. You can't have just dependent on the soccer side. That's a key factor. How many teams here, when you go to a tournament, do you go tour a school within that city? Excellent. Coaches that are here, please reach out to college coaches. We're always available to do tours at our school. It's the best way to kill two birds with one stone. You go to a tournament, you're playing, and there's universities all over the place. I mean, you could get to any one of our schools from any tournaments that you're going to. Get on that campus. Walk through the campus. And even if you can't get a hold of the coach to get a tour, just go on the campus. Get to the campus and get an idea and a feel for what it's like. It's a tremendous way to go see schools, and you're not having to fly specifically to that school to see it. It can help save your money to go see the schools. And we've had, I think, three different female teams and 3 different male teams come through the University of Portland this weekend, just to kind of check out the school and take a look at it. You're always welcome out there. Be sure zip down to Oregon State or over to Linfield. You might have to get a little traveling in to get down to Prescott, but a lot of great tournaments in Phoenix. If you're out there, don't hesitate to get to schools. Go check them out. It's a great way to see the schools. Okay? Any questions on those parts? Here's what ends up happening. Just so we're fully clear, we try to make this an hour and a half. We try to get you out of here by 9:30. You have game. Obviously, the important part of this whole thing is that you're getting sleep and you're playing in these games. So we try to get you out of here. It happens every time. No one has any questions for the first hour. And then the last half hour, we're trying to cram in 9,000 questions because people are feeling comfortable asking questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions, okay? Question?
Do you have any tours for University of Portland this weekend or Monday morning?
For Monday morning?
Yeah.
Specifically, if Brandon is available, we possibly could. Just all you have to do is reach out to either send me an email on the website, just look up and shoot us an email. And if we can get back to you right away. I'm actually coaching a team, so I have games in that morning, and we actually train Monday morning at 9 o'clock. So we'll be out there, but I won't be really in an environment to tour, and then I got to come out here for a game. But possibly Brandon could.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Any questions? Yeah, it's all right. Hugh, what are you looking for when you come to a tournament? What are you looking for in a player?
Well, the first thing I'm looking for, I have specific needs when I'm recruiting each year. And that means I'm trying to fill certain positions. However, if I do come across a young man that exhibits great ability and good character and seems to be enjoying himself out there while he's playing, then I'll take a closer look at him. He may be playing a position that I don't need, but at the same time, it would be an opportunity maybe for me to include him in the squad, make some adjustments, and he could be a very good utility player. He could occupy many positions, but specifically I'm looking for, my needs are in positions, so I'm looking for certain position players. I came up here and my needs this year are for center backs because we graduated our defense. So I'm trying to fill that void. But like I said, if I saw a player that was exceptional and I thought we could fit him into a defensive position, then I would choose that player. But I like the flavor of the game, okay? I like to go watch the games. I like to, even if the conditions are poor like they are today, these young people are out there playing. dressed in just shirts and shorts. You know, they're braving the elements. I've got a big jacket on. I'm a lot more comfortable. And so I see them play, and I know they're enjoying themselves. They're playing a game that they love. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see that kind of you know, feeling when you're on the field, because you know, when you step between the white lines, guys and girls, there's no guarantees in this life. So when you step between the white lines, get in there, do your best, follow instructions, work hard, okay, exhibit your personality, and that's the thing that arouses coaches. For me, I see a young man out there really giving it his all, working his tail off, being a team player, talking to his teammates, congratulating them, encouraging them. That's what I'm after. That's the kind of young man that I want to see play this game. And the same thing applies to the young ladies. Okay, just don't go through the motions, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. And that's not a scare tactic. That's reality. Okay? And that's the way I played the game. I played the game like it was my last game, and I couldn't wait to play another game. So that's what I look for. That's one of the things that I really look for in a player. It's, you know, be excited and really enjoy yourself out there. It's a game. Okay?
I'm going to add to what Hugh's talking about. And when you go to a showcase, what do you, I mean, when you think about what you're trying to showcase, I see a lot of people kind of come into the showcase tournaments and they're kind of nervous and they want to show, and they know, especially if they know a coach is specifically coming to watch that game. Okay? The one thing that I can give you that'll help is just come and enjoy the game. We're always watching. We're always watching. We're watching your warm-up. We're watching your game, what you're doing in your game, how you're acting, what's your interaction with the referee, what's your interaction with your teammates, what's your interaction with your coach. I'm watching to see if a coach says something to a player, are they doing it? Are they responding to it? What is that telling me? Are you coachable? It's not just about what you're doing with the ball. And the one thing that drives me crazy, and it happens all the time in these showcases, is we get our angst going, and we're competing, and we make mistakes. And what do we do when we make that mistake? We dwell on it. We put our hands in our head, or we stop. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Get the ball back again right away. Keep working hard. Those are the things that we're looking for. Mistakes are going to happen, I promise you. That's the reality. No one's perfect. They're going to happen. It's how well you deal with those mistakes is what we're looking for, and how you can improve. And are you making them continuously over and over again? So just understand that you're going to make mistakes. How you deal with them is a lot of the things that we look at. Okay? So it's not just, did I score 4 goals today? Or was my pass percentage 85%? It's a lot to do with all the things that we're seeing within your game, before and after. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. Pop over to, Michelle, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you look for if people want to send you video?
Video. Okay, so video is a great tool. It's an awesome way for us to get an idea of you as a player. I do not need your mistakes on your video. I want your highlights. I know you're going to make mistakes. So start off there. If you're going to put together a highlight reel, maybe 5 minutes max, find some really good plays. If you're a defender, for example, don't just show you flying down the line, dribbling people from the defense. Show yourself defending, making tackles, being a defender as well. So everywhere on the field, show some action, like attacking action, defending action. And then it's going to pique my interest. If I see something that I like, I can write. Maybe, if I'm able to write, I'll ask for more video. Or at least I'll say, okay, that's a player I want to see. And I'll look to find that player and see that person live, or get in touch with the coach if I can't contact you, and maybe can I get a game video. So, it's definitely nice to have the video up there, make it a highlight video, show more than the same thing over, give us a variety of, what you're doing. And again, if you do have another link, maybe you can put 20 minutes of a game where there was a spell that was really good, so we can actually see what's happening. Sometimes, you'll see the cuts, like someone takes a shot and it's like, oh, there's a shot, and then they cut it. It's like, well, where did it go? Was that like over the goal, or or a pass? Someone does a great dribble and then there's this long ball and then it's cut because did it go out of bounds? That's okay. So we're going to want to see the highlights when things work out well. Obviously, that's what you should be putting there. But also, we want to see you in the flow of a game. So some longer clips where it's just playing, so we can see how you're moving, where you're going. Because we're looking we want to see you technically, we want to see you athletically. We also want to be able to see, tactically, can you make decisions, and where's your positioning? And, obviously when we're watching you, especially getting a chance to watch you live, we want to see that psychological side of things. Are you a competitor? What kind of competitor are you? What kind of teammate are you? Are you a leader, or are you kind of a quiet leader? There's a vocal leader and there's a quiet leader, but it's all about what you're doing on the field. But the video is going to also help pique our interest, especially when, like, we're down in Corvallis. It's a little different. I can't just leave my house and go to the field that's 10 minutes away and watch a game. I have to drive an hour and a half to get up here. So if I see a video of someone I'm really interested in, I'll drive up here and come watch you. And I think that's the thing you want to think about. You're sending a video to market yourself and get coaches' attention. So send them good stuff so they'll come watch you. I'm not going to give anybody an offer off of a video. We have never given an offer or a scholarship offer off of a video. You've got to be pretty darn good to get I don't know about you guys, but you've got to be pretty good to get a scholarship off a video. Coaches want to see you, but the video definitely helps, especially if you're from, Spokane. We've got teams here from Spokane. That's a long trip, but if I see a kid I think's really good, I'm going to look to see, maybe I'll go to Spokane, or maybe I'll go to Seattle to watch those kids. So, it's definitely pique the interest, keep it short, and also have the option for people to watch a little bit longer portions of the game.
There's an excellent lead into, and I'm going to bring Hugh into this for a second, because reaching out to schools and specifically asking them what they want is also helpful. Because I'm the same as Michelle. I'm very much so. I want to see clips of what you're doing to pique my interest of whether I'm going to come see you play. On the other hand, I've listened to Hugh for years talk about he is a full game guy. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
He likes things a little bit differently. Why don't you?
Well, I understand in the 21st century, with all of the introduction, social media, and all these things that are available to young people, and they're very comfortable with all of these things. So I've had to adjust through the years to these things. And a video is basically just a stirring of interest for me. Like I said a few minutes before, I like the flavor of the game. I like to see the behavior. I like to see the kind of person that has contacted us. So if a young man contacts us and there's a small video clip, that's what I'm looking for, because if I see something there that kind of gives me a little jolt, there's a possibility there could be something here, then I like to go and watch the games. And I travel some distance from Prescott to, to see these things. I want to say a few things about the videos. Lately, I've been getting quite a few. I think I had about 20 videos prior to coming up here. And that, along with, of course, a request from the young people to come and watch them play, which is what I'm doing. When you accompany a short letter with your video, make sure you tell me what your name is.
Or your number.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is this. Hi, Coach. How are you doing? I'm going to be playing such and such a place, okay? It's the tournament, and it's called the Portland Showcase. And here's my schedule. So I got to look at the email address to find out if I can identify your name. But lots of times I can't because your name's not in the email address, right? Next thing is, I'd like to know your jersey number. That would help me a lot, especially when I'm looking at the video. Then the next thing I'd really like to know is the color of your shirt. What's your uniform color? Because there happens to be 2 teams playing. Right? The next thing is this. If you're going to have a video done, occasionally would you focus in so that I can see you a little closer? Because you know what? My eyes are deteriorating every day. And even with the big screens, I'm a little bit under pressure. But, you know, if you're a right winger or a right back, and you're taking a video of the other side of the field, you realize the kind of trouble I'm in to try to identify? So, just remember those things, okay? That's critical when you get in touch with any of us coaches. You know, identify yourself. And then we'll be a little bit more comfortable with things, okay? But I jotted down a few things because I've been getting a lot of videos. And like I said, identify your shirt color and number. Focus close up whenever possible. Identify your position. Whenever possible, make the clips a reasonable length. I don't need a whole game, guys. I don't have time to watch a whole game. Do not speed up the tape if you're a winger.
See that one.
When I show up at the field, I'm going to find out if that's you are. And finally, I don't need an epic. I don't need all the stuff. I just need a few clips. Okay? But I think we would all agree with that.
I think one thing to add to that too would be careful with the sound. How many times have you seen a video with, and no offense to parents,
Yeah.
a parent holding it and making, oh Johnny, come on Johnny. We don't need to hear that.
I like them.
I like it too. Bring it on, it's funny.
Sorry, I knew my name Johnny, but
Some other key things, especially in this group, might be for parents. Tripods are fantastic. The computer screens we're looking at, and I almost get sick looking at some of these things. It's tough. And to be honest with you, if it happens, it's probably not going to be seen. So I agree with Hugh on the quality of what we're seeing. He's so right though. I don't know how many times I've seen a video and I'm looking at the player on the farther side of the field, and I'd love to know what they're doing over there. I can't see it either. And my eyes are fairly good. They're not.
And then I say to myself, oh, there's going to be a second half. So he's going to be this side of the field this time. But I never see the second half. All I see is the first half. You never get the second half. So if he's a right wing playing on that side, oh man, there's a right back. I'm going to see him right in front of me. Awesome, I can't wait. I never see it. So that's just, don't forget these little things. You know, you don't think about it at the time, but it's important.
Question.
Very good question. As long as the professional is professional.
For me, it's not mandatory, and again, the reason it's not mandatory for me is it's an identification tool.
Absolutely.
It's not necessary. This isn't something that has to be high production. It has to be good enough that I can tell that they can play. If I can tell that they can play, it's good enough for me. I'm not trying to downplay the industry out there, because there's a ton of people out there that are willing to do these things for people. There's a lot of money spent on this high-tech stuff, and for my personal opinion, and if these guys want to, make their opinion, it doesn't have to be that spectacular for me. I just need to be able to see the player. And again, I can't tell you, I know that everyone is laughing at Hugh's points. It happens all the time. I get a video and we spend 5 minutes trying to figure out who the player is. We don't have any idea who it is. you have to make sure we know who you are, what team you're on. You know, even if you just, a lot of times you'll say what team you're on. I don't live in your city. I don't know what that team color is.
Oh.
It may be in your head, it's something that, well, of course you know that that team is, you know, SC Portland's blue. Well, people outside of Portland don't know that SC Portland's blue. So we have to make sure that we're pointing that out. So yeah, that answers your question. Any other questions on the video side?
Mr. Gorson, Lily.
Yep. Both. Yeah, it can be right away. I mean, if I get an email from someone, I'll click on it every time. I'll click on the video every time to see if it's something that needs to go into my inbox or my outbox. The question was, have we ever asked for videos to be sent to us? When we can't get somewhere, I'll ask for a video to see if it's something that, like Michelle said, if they're from further away, I'm not going to necessarily get a flight to go see that player unless I know that they can play. You know, another avenue that we see outside of videos, and I know these coaches for sure are in the same boat because we know a ton of people in a lot of cities. So we get good information on, we can call a coach and say, hey, this player wrote me, what do you know about them? And we can get a lot of good information that way as well. And now we add the video onto it, now we can say, okay, we're in agreement, we can go watch them play.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too when you're going through this process is to update, you know, so I mean, it's great, you know, there's this tournament, take video and create some highlights from this tournament, and then 3 months down the road, you have another tournament, take the highlights from that and just keep building, because it also gives us opportunity to see what kind of development a player, you know, are you know, getting better? Are you playing different positions? You know, what kind of environments are you playing in? What teams you're playing different teams? So I think, you know, the more detail that you can put in there, it really helps us. And, you know, obviously the names and numbers and colors are important, and, you know, the angles, but it doesn't need to be professional. Just, you know, I mean, all the technology that we have is so good. So just think about the details. There's a lot of good information. And then when you send those emails, keep those details there, and make sure you're putting your coach's contact, like who's your coach and their phone number, because we can't contact you unless you're at a certain age. So if you're starting to make, and it's fine, if you're a freshman and you want to send video, or a sophomore, go ahead. But let us have a coach, some person that we can contact that we can ask questions and follow up, and that's really, really important for us.
Excellent. Yes?
I'm not a kid, but I've been helping my son write some letters, and over the last fall and last spring, he entered some information in some of the recruitment questionnaires on the websites of different colleges in their athletic area. And so if he's referring to that, saying I put my questionnaire, I filled out my recruitment questionnaire on your soccer page last fall, are you coaches saying, oh, that's great, I can go back to that to get more information? Are you referring back to those
Absolutely.
recruitment things?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that has a lot of information already, and so repeating yourself with some of those.
Which again, I'm going to go back to is fine with me personally, because being reminded and seeing it again is going to make me look back again. And even if it's got that same information, it's just going to be, for me, it's repetitive, and now I'm going to make sure that I look back at it. So I actually think it's okay to even write again, even though you still have sent in your profile.
But it's good to refer back to that if you've done it already.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
How many people here wrote schools before you came to this tournament? Nice. Did you research the schools?
Yes.
Which one of you guys wrote someone? I'm going to pick on you. Nice. What'd you write? What'd you write to Gonzaga? Excellent. So some of the things that, what was your name? Brendan. Some of the things that Brendan was talking about that he wrote was a little bit of information about the school, maybe how they did last season. You know, again, going back to finding out information about the school. Is it liberal arts? Is that what you want? Does it have a nursing program? Does it have an engineering program? These are all key factors that if you start down a process and find out that they don't even have the discipline you want to go into, it's probably not going to make sense. I'm looking at Brendan here who put the time to look up some stuff at Gonzaga. My guess is Gonzaga is going to respond by coming out and watching play because of that information. You got to make it personal. The more personal you can make it, now you're not just another name or another number out there. It's now something that's made it personal with us. Does that make sense to everybody? Creating that, you're almost creating a relationship with us by researching who we are and what we're doing so that we can now, in return, look at who you are and what you're doing. Okay, so it's really important not to just write, and we get it, I promise you, these guys get the same ones. I'll get a paragraph. Coach, really interested in your school. Can you send me information about yourself? Thanks. Yeah, no. Probably not. I'm not going to take the time. No time was taken in that letter. I'm not going to take the time to go find out more about you. Make sure you're finding out some stuff about us so we can look back and go, okay, I'm going to go find out about you guys. Yep. Do we look at the websites like Captain U for information?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times when we're trying to research information, we have to go through the different types of search engines. You know, it's getting easier plugging in a player's name almost in Google. You can find out, are they in Captain U, are they in all these different places? So yes, we will look into those.
You know, and we're talking a little bit about social media and technology. I mean, you know, Captain U is great. It's a great resource. It's also important, I think, to write the schools, especially if you have like a list, you know, of 20 schools. Look into them, or 10, or wherever you are in your process of kind of narrowing down schools. But also, when you talk about Google or Facebook, think about what you are putting out there in the public, because coaches look at your Facebook page and they will investigate, and we can write you like a message, like an email when you're at the right age. We can send you a message on your Facebook page. But think about, again, what you're putting out there for the public, because you might be a great player and a coach is all excited, this is going to be great, and they look you up and all of a sudden there's this crazy picture that's, you know, maybe it turns them off and they say, you know what, that's someone I don't want involved in my program, you know. And so just be aware of what is happening, you know, that when you're out there on Twitter, people have Twitter. How many of you guys have Twitter accounts? Okay, think about what you're posting on Twitter, because coaches look at that stuff. You'd be surprised.
Well, that's not only now when you're being recruited, but when you're in college also.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So again, now at the same time, that's a great tool. It's a free tool that you can use, you know, to market yourself. So if you have, you know, tournament information, you could put that on your Facebook page. Anyone can kind of look at it. So think about the social media. That's part of what we have available out there, and how you're being, you know, seen and viewed, and what information you're trying to market out there.
Before we kind of just start to kind of open it up to just Q&A, I want to kind of add a couple little things. I made a point about, you know, really wanting the student athlete to speak up here. For me, just kind of listening to these guys talking, it started making me think about how many times I get a phone call from a parent that says, I'm calling in regards to my son, you know, he's interested in the University of Portland or whatever it is. And it always strikes me as, well, why isn't he calling me? It always strikes me as strange. And it kind of, for me personally, it's not like it's the end all, but it's a bit of a turnoff. I'd rather hear the player call me. I'd rather hear, because you know what, at the end of the day, as much as parents you want to go back to college, you don't get to go back. Well, you can, but you just can't, you probably, eligibility might be gone. we have a 25-year, you gotta be, yeah, it's not gonna work. But, hearing from the player goes a long ways. When someone calls me on the phone and specifically talks to me, it goes a long way for me. I know that student athlete is interested in my school, and I know that sometimes as parents we're trying to help that process along and push it along, but help that process along by handing the phone. If you need to help them find the number, whatever it is, but push hard to get them to take ownership of this process. Because taking ownership of this process is going to make the entire process easier for your entire family. Because I know it's a stressful thing. And in all reality, it should be a fun thing. Right? You work so hard at what you do to create opportunities for yourself, it should be enjoyable. Not as stressful, oh my gosh, where am I going? What am I doing? Oh my gosh, this person's going there, this person's going there. Don't worry about all those other things. Focus on yourself and focus on what you can do to help your process be as easy as possible. Does that make sense to everybody? So we're going to make sure that we're doing it, not our parents. As all our parents are taking notes.
Question in the back. Way
How
back
much
there.
time does it take you to make a decision about a player?
Ooh, interesting question. I think it varies. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty quick, and sometimes it can be, I need to see. Usually, I won't make a decision off of one time or two times. It's usually going to take a process, in my eyes, just because, you can tell a lot about a player, I think, off of an initial reaction. But sometimes we actually just had this conversation before we came on the panel on, Hugh seeing some players that we know locally here, and what we've seen them over a 2-year span, and Hugh's seen them in one day. What's our opinions of the player? It changes, and so it's seeing a player more than once is very helpful for us. I don't know about him.
Yeah, definitely. We want to see players a lot. I mean, it's important. One, we want to see how you're developing over a period of time. We want to see how you develop physically. I think that's important. We're in a very athletic conference, and that's a key piece. We also want to see how you're developing, as a soccer player, and it's really important for us to have the opportunity to see consistency, because you can have the tournament of your life and it's awesome, and all of a sudden all these coaches contact you, or maybe you didn't have a very good tournament. It's fine, but that's what we're going to look at. We're going to track players. We want to see development. We want to see improvement. And also just get an idea, I think, of where that player could fit in to our program. And then for us, it's really important. We want to get you on a visit. We want you to get to campus, and if there's an ID camp, come to the ID camp. We can interact with you. You get to see the campus, and I think it's important to meet players and go through that process. And we'll talk a little bit about like phone calls, making sure when you're on a visit that players, you step up and you make sure that you're asking questions and you're communicating with the coaches, and ask a lot of questions. Ask about system of play, ask about positions, ask about money, all those things. Make sure there are no bad questions. But it's really, for us, we want to have that opportunity to track players, see them, get them on campus, whether it's an official or unofficial visit, and have a little interaction, because it's not just about what you do on the field, it's how you're going to fit into the whole thing, because every school and every program is different. And the great thing for you as athletes, there are just so many opportunities, not only within each division. I mean, we have Division I, there's over 300 women's programs, and now you've got Division II, III, junior college, NAI. I mean, there's a ton of opportunity to find the right fit. And the only way to do it is to go through this process, to see schools, to talk to coaches, to go to campuses, just go on an unofficial visit somewhere, just to get into the process and kind of see what it's like and ask questions. And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. One tournament, unless you're a senior and now coaches are like, okay, yeah, I'm really looking for someone, then, you know, for most of you in this room, this is a process that you need to be patient and ask a lot of questions, do your research, and really, really think about what you, as a student, athlete, what you want out of your college experience. That's huge, because a very, very, very small percentage of people in this room will go on to a higher level. For the majority of players out there, college soccer, this is going to be the highest level. And it's awesome, and it's a great experience, but make sure you're not only thinking about that athletic experience, but you're thinking about the academics, because when you're done, you got to start working and earning your own money. So you want to get in a profession that you like, and also the social side of it. You know, you want to go to a school where you're going to have fun and you're going to make friends and you're going to have a really positive experience. And soccer can't be the only thing that you're focusing on, because in this business, you know, coaching staffs change, programs change, you know, and so you have, you know, there's more to it. So do the research, you know, find what's going to work for you, and you know, stick with it and be patient. Be patient and be persistent. Don't rely on that little putting your name in the database one time. You've got to keep reminding us. We get so many emails every day. So the names we see, oh yeah, I can go back. Oh yeah, you were in the database. Awesome. And we can send you emails. But make sure you're consistent, persistent, and patient.
I think that help with the gentleman's question, it depends on how many candidates there are. That's something that we spend a lot of time mulling over. Let's say we need 12 athletes, 12 student athletes, and we're receiving 200 applicants. Just using those numbers. It's difficult to see them all, and it takes time. So for a junior college like ours, we try to see all the young people in person if possible. Now, east of the Mississippi, it's very, very difficult. So we have to rely on a network. So what I'm trying to say is, the time element is impacted, okay? Not only if you have, let's say you have a half a dozen young men who want to join your program, and they're all center backs. Well, you just don't pluck one out. You have to give them all equal time and consider many things. In junior college, we don't have the same rules and regulations that are prevalent in four-year schools. Maybe NAIA is a little different, maybe closer to us, but we can have the young people come and visit. And that's what we prefer. If they would come to the campus, we show them around all the different things, academics, classes, professors, and so forth. But to try to answer your question, I think it's impacted by the number of candidates oftentimes.
Is that good? Yep.
When Canadian student athletes apply, what kind of complications or any tricks for them?
Can you repeat that one more time? Carter, can you take the microphone over here? In the front row here. Front row to the back.
When there's any Canadian athletes that want to apply, student athletes, any complications or advice for them?
Canadians. I love Canadians, man. That's where I'm from.
That's a
was loaded. Were you placed in there? That's excellent. There are different things that are factors. I think it's different in every school. I think that for us at the University of Portland, it is a little different. We offer a international scholarship, but we don't offer academic scholarship for international students, so it's a little different playing field for an international student than it is for a regular student that's a U.S. citizen. I don't know if it's different.
We only can have 4 international student athletes. That's a requirement made by the National Junior College Athletic Association. And we can't give any kind of academic money, and that's controlled by the government, by the U.S. government. And really, things like FAFSA and so forth would not apply to that. So any money that we would give would have to come from the school, meaning in the form of an athletic scholarship. But the ramifications of trying to bring in an international student athlete are many, because they have to take necessary tests, academic tests, to make sure that they are, going to be able to handle the academics. But if they're coming from a country where there's not English spoken, or let's say Germany or France or something like that, then we have the TOEFL test, and that's a test which is given to international student athletes who do not speak English as a primary language. And so in order for them to be successful in your school, they obviously have to pass the test and be able to go to class. Those are just a few things that impact international student athletes.
Yeah, at Oregon State, you would apply like another international student. You still have to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. In fact, everyone, if you're going to be a Division 1, 2, or 3 athlete, NCAA athlete, you need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. So that's something you want to do. You get a number, and then you can also, through the NCAA Eligibility Center, you can see the courses that you need to take. So when you're doing your transcripts, we've often seen like there's a course that admissions will look at and say, okay, well, wait a minute, what is this course? The title's different. So we've had to go back to the school, and they have to kind of rewrite the title of the course or explain what it is so that it meets eligibility requirements, NCAA and the school's requirements. So you want to get that application process going as soon as possible. The other thing is you've got to get your I-20, is that right? Your international paperwork done. So that all comes through, it's fine, but making sure you know about and everyone in here know about the NCAA Eligibility Center. Get yourself logged in if you're thinking about coming to the U.S. to play, and then start looking at the website for the university, what kind of requirements they have, in terms of where you're at and their transcripts, and making sure that those courses meet the core courses. Now, just because you're NCAA eligible doesn't necessarily mean you're eligible for that school, or so that's also important. So you might do the NCAA, everything looks great, you go to apply, and they say, well, you need 2 more courses here to meet our academic requirements. So the sooner you can start investigating, the better. And then also one thing that helps is if you can apply in, let's say, the fall. The earlier you can apply, there's opportunity for more academic money or state money, at least at our place, so at Oregon State.
So for D3, it's a little bit different. Bartle mentioned 9.9 scholarships on the guy's side and 14 on the female side. For D3, it's all based on academics and financial need. So for a citizen from outside the U.S., it's more difficult to get that financial aid. Linfield College costs roughly $45,000 a year. That can be offset through either academics or financial need. It's very difficult for exchange students to get access, like you said, without the government stipend. It makes it tough.
Did we answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Yep. The question is it better to take the SAT or the ACT? For us, it makes no difference. Basically what happens at our school is if an ACT comes, they literally have a chart that shows what the score is on the SAT, and that's what they go off of. I don't know if that's different for you guys, but
Yeah, it's fine.
pretty much the same. Yep. How should we interpret an auto reply email. Like I'm out of the office, is that what you're asking? The auto reply to fill out one of our forms, is that what you're asking?
I was gonna say coach got fired.
I think that,
I think,
Can we do that?
I think it's
New
very,
staff.
it would be very embarrassing if I received an auto reply. And if the coach is doing that, then I suggest that you investigate the coach. No, that's not that. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's not appropriate. I don't know if you got an auto reply or not, but I don't think that's. I haven't seen any. I mean,
I've never seen it, but I will always write back.
I've never
But I'm not. Have you got one of those? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure to answer that question. I mean, the one thing we can't do is speak for other schools. We can speak for what we know and what we see and what we'd like to see from. I wouldn't want an auto reply, so I'm probably not going to send one of those. I would still keep writing it unless you keep getting them, and that might tell you something about whether you want to go to that place or not. And these are, as you're going through the process, you got to really understand something. This is a two-way street. It goes both ways. Is that the school you want to go to? Are you getting any information back? Are you, all these things that you're looking at can help tell you, is that the place you want to be? Right? So you're in this process as you're looking for your school, you're researching all this stuff, and all this information you should be taking in. Just like we take in all the information that we're getting from you. If we ask for information, do we get it back right away? Or does it take us 3 emails to get that information back? What are you doing in your warm-up? What are you doing in your game? All the information, it's a full file of information that we're looking at to create, because at the end of the day, we're committing 4 years to someone. We want someone that fits our program, that fits what we want. And so all that information is what we have to look at. So we have to also fit what you want. You may think that this is, and I think Michelle touched on it earlier, you may think that this is the school that you want until you actually start researching it and find out, well, maybe that's not what I want. Maybe that's not the coach I want to play for. Maybe that's not the school environment I want to be in. I mean, I don't think you could put two different schools from Oregon State and UP. They're completely different schools. They both offer a lot of great things, but they're completely different schools. And it's going to be the right fit for what you're looking for. So throughout this process, take note of all these things that happen throughout that process. And you'll have a better idea of what you want, and you'll make a better decision. Does that make sense? Any other questions up here? Up at the top? Is it on? Keep talking into it. They'll turn it on.
For contacting you, would you rather us email you first before we personally call you, or do you have a preference?
I have no preference. I mean, I'd like to have information when you call. It's nice to have something in front of me that when I'm having a conversation with you, I'm looking at your information, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still important to send an email. And again, we're pretty difficult to get a hold of sometimes. So having that, we can talk to your coaches. So maybe it's as simple as, your coach calls and says, hey, or you leave a message, look, I'm looking to set up an appointment, to make a phone call. Here's my coach. If it's like I can't call you back, because depending on what age you are. And then we can set up a time where I can actually sit down and have a conversation, because sometimes the phone rings, I'm in the middle of a meeting or I'm doing something or whatever. I want to be able to have a conversation. So if I that's something that can help, but also send that information so we know. I can say, okay, let me take a look. If I get you on the phone, I can take a look and remind myself of who you are. If for some reason your name, I have to look stuff up sometimes. And then we can have a conversation. But, don't feel bad if you call and the coach doesn't answer. It's not like they're ignoring you. We're pretty busy. And again, if I'm going to answer the phone, I want to be in a position where I can actually have a conversation and not say, oh, thanks for calling, but I have to go. Okay, so setting up those appointments are really helpful. And your club coaches can play a really big role in getting you in touch with college coaches.
you have a point there, Hugh?
Well, the pattern for me, and I think, I'm not sure if I will be able to answer the young lady's question with regards to junior colleges. I like to receive an email. And if I get an email, then I reply to it, thanking them for contacting me and giving them a little information on what I'm about and or what we're about, and could you please provide your schedule? And at the first opportunity, I will make an attempt to be and watch you play. And then that might be the time that we would have the conversation. I think what everybody's trying to say is that it's very, very difficult at this time of year, particularly when we're doing a lot of recruiting, that find the time to give appropriate conversations to everybody that would that would contact us. So I believe that the email is the best way. It is for me anyway to respond, and I will eventually get to the point where I will have a conversation with the young person.
How do you weigh the importance of a kid playing high school versus club versus both?
Good question.
Fantastic question. I'll give my take on. I'll go to a high school game. I'd prefer to go to a club game, and the reason I prefer to go to a club game is it's going to be a little bit more of a competitive environment that is going to be closer to the environment we're going to pull them into in college. High school tends, and again, that's not the only way. There are very good high school teams out there. The problem is sometimes those high school teams are playing teams that aren't, and so am I getting a true definition of who you are in that high school game? So for me personally, I'll go to more club games. Will I go to a high school game? Absolutely. I will still go to a high school game.
I think one thing Barrow said there was who you are, and that's who you are as a player. One thing I do like about going to high school games is you get to see how they interact with their peers.
Absolutely.
And their coaches, who, there's some very good high school coaches. There's some not so good high school coaches. So, how do we interact and how do they deal with a little adversity?
Well, lots of times, Rob, there's situations in high school where that young man may be an outstanding player on his team. He may be the leader of the team. To observe him be a leader and also observe him to bring the troops together, it has a great character association. And that's a huge thing, where you have contact with the coach, and the coach is requesting or requiring you to do a particular job, and you're doing the job and being a team player, and you're not, running around with your head in the air, thinking, "Gee, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread." You know what I'm saying? That for me is important in observing the behavior of a young man. So that's why I like to go to high school games.
I don't know if yep, right there.
Do you tend to recruit more academy players or club players? Like, what's the difference?
On the men's side, do we look at academy players, or do we still we look at all?
Like, which one do you have more interest in?
Can you speak up a little louder?
Do you tend to recruit more academy kids or more club kids in your program?
All of the above. We don't specifically look at just academy. If we just looked at just academy players, we would be cutting off such a massive amount of people that don't play academy. Do I like the environment of the academy? Absolutely, but it's not I bet you we're probably half and half. Someone up top? Yep.
If we see you guys at the field, is it acceptable to talk to you guys?
It's an interesting question. There might be different rules for Hugh. I'm not sure about Chuck. I know that Michelle and I cannot have a conversation about yourself as a player or with your parents about you as a player. We can say hello and we'll talk to you later. We can't talk to you until after a tournament is ended for us.
It's the same way for 1 through 3.
1 through 3 is the same. And Hugh?
I can talk any.
He can do whatever he wants.
And I'm telling you right now, he does like to have a chit chat, so don't hesitate to say hi to Hugh. He'll be out in the field, I promise you that.
Don't everybody come together.
He's going to be there all day tomorrow. I love it. Any other questions coming up here? Yep. I mean, I think it's all a role, in my opinion. I mean,
All of the above.
absolutely. I mean, what we're trying to, I guess what we're trying to explain, and I think I can speak for everybody here listening to this talk, is being a special player is great. But if you're a special player that doesn't get along with my team, that doesn't like my school, that doesn't have any ability to be a team player and not coachable, it doesn't work. So we want, the more we have and all of the above of everything you're saying, the better we're going to be. Do I put one over the other? Not necessarily. I think we're looking for the full package, to be honest. I think it's time their hand over here. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So one of the question, if I'm wrong, come up here and kick me. The question was, on a lot of our profiles, we ask for other schools you're interested in. And the question is, you know, if you're a freshman or sophomore, you may have a pretty big group of schools you're looking at. Put them down. One of the things that I look at is, who is this person and what are they looking for? If it's a younger player, I take that in consideration. They're not sure what they're looking for yet. If it's a person that's in their junior year and heading into that senior year, and they still have, you know, UCLA, University of Portland, North Carolina, you know, I'm kind of going, okay, are you sure you know what you want? In that situation, I'm going to be going, okay, I think you want to, and that's a conversation piece that I'll now have. You know, you mentioned these schools. Have you know, what is the connection to those schools compared to what you're looking at? Because we're a 3,000 undergrad, not a 35,000, you know, student school. So I think it kind of fits in where they're at, if that makes sense. Up here?
The gentleman.
It's kind of dark up there, so it's hard to see.
That's okay. Can I ask you about a transfer student?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
A student athlete who received several offers from different colleges, verbal offers, but they don't want to go to those colleges, but they want to go to your college. Should they mention that? If the answer is yes, should they mention the colleges as well?
I'm not sure I'm following the question. Did you guys catch the question? Right. Go ahead.
Should I ask it again?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a son.
Yeah.
Who got several offers from 2 different colleges, but see, he does not want to go there.
Okay.
If he wants to go to your colleges, should he mention that to the letter that he's writing to you, or should he not?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, the more information we have, the better we're going to be. I mean, I think so. I mean, there's no reason to not tell us that he's already been offered somewhere else.
Because some coaches yes, and some coaches says no.
Sir, I wouldn't recommend it. Because it's oftentimes by coaches, it's thought of as a bargaining tool.
Yeah.
And we're not bargaining. You know what I'm saying? It's based on the young man's merits. And if a coach takes the time to go watch him play, like if I was to go watch your son play, I would base my evaluation on what he can provide the school that I'm coaching at. Okay? in other words, it's on his own merits. It's not based on what some other coaches has said or promised. So I wouldn't put that in any letter. That's just for me. Chuck?
He's making you guys answer, so.
Oh, seriously?
Well, D3 is different. Again, it's all either academic or financial needs. So there is no athletic money that we dug out.
And can I ask a question back? Are you saying the specific amount of the offer? Because I'm looking at, because for me, I don't want to know specific amounts, because the one thing that we don't do is shop, because I know that's what Hugh's talking about. We're not going to start shopping what we're offering to what Michelle's offering to what Chuck's offering. That's not something that I don't want anything to do with any knowledge of that. For me, if someone else is interested in you, I'm fine knowing that. It doesn't change, for me personally, it doesn't change whether players that I'm looking at, I know other schools are going to be interested in.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not mentioning anything about the amounts, but some coaches says, like you said yes earlier, and he said no. I mean, so we just want to know what to do. Right. That's all.
Sure.
I can talk a little bit about this.
Junior. He's transferring as a junior.
Got it.
I mean, we'll have, every school is has a different philosophy and different timelines. So I think it's important when you're having conversations with coaches, if you have an offer and you have a timeline from that school, they say, look, we've given you an offer, you have 3 months or you have 2 weeks. I think it's important to communicate that so that coaches know and they can tell you, well, I'm sorry, let's say you have an offer and the coach that gave you the offer says, I need to know in 3 weeks. Well, that's important when you're talking to another coach to say, I just want to let you know I have an offer out there and I need to let them know in 3 weeks. Because now the coach can tell you where they're at on the timeline. So I could tell you, okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you an offer within the next 3 weeks. This is my timeline. So it just helps with transparency. And we try to be very open. I think it's important to have those lines of communication, especially, both ways, because you'll put an offer out there and say, okay, let me know how things develop in the next couple months. I hope if something changes that player is going to contact us, say, look, someone's put an offer out. I have a month now. And let's move the timeline up. So at least you can figure out what's going on. I think that's really important. I don't know about you guys, but you definitely want to have those discussions.
No, go ahead. That's just different.
Just before we end the evening, because we've hit that 9:30 bell, we may have 1 or 2 questions we'll be able to grab. Just to kind of give you a heads up, we can't talk to you about our colleges. As a club director of the tournament, if you have a question that is a just regular question to any school or a question about colleges, we can answer a question about that you have what you should do, but we just can't talk about our schools and we can't talk about recruiting you. Those are the things that we cannot do at the tournament. Does that make sense to everybody? So if we're at the tournament tomorrow, if I'm at the tournament tomorrow and you had a question that didn't get answered tonight, don't hesitate to ask it as long as it has nothing to do with my school. I can't respond to anything about my school. Does that make sense? Question? Quick.
So I'm a goalkeeper, right? And a lot of times...
Sorry.
I'm a goalkeeper.
No, I just said sorry. Absolutely. I think so. And I know that Bill Irwin, our coach that takes care of our goalkeepers, likes to see some agility stuff that he sees in those things. On the video stuff, just we never mentioned before, one of the things that, for the field players, I don't want to see a 5-minute juggling video. It's fantastic. I love that you can do it, but that's not what I want to see. I want to see you playing.
Question right there.
Should we show some different practicing or something like that, training or something?
In a training session, if it's a training session and you're active and you're doing a training session, I'm okay with that as well. What was one that you said?
Gentleman right there.
Yep. Correct. Well, the divisions as far as NCAA 1, 2, and 3, we can't contact you until it's changing now until junior year on email, correct? And calls. You can call us anytime. Just so you're clear, you can call us anytime. If we pick up the phone, we can talk to you. We can't call you back until that junior year. Correct. Or the parent. Either one. Last one. 2 miles. Just kidding. The question was, how far are we willing to go to watch a player? It depends on the player. It depends on what we've seen in our interest level.
And north or south?
Correct. All right, we gotta wrap this up so we can get you guys out of here. Thank you so much for coming. Please give these guys a round of applause. And enjoy the tournament.